Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dan Lanning, the Oregon Ducks, went out into the transfer portal and made some massive additions to this program heading into 2024. And the guys that kind of steal the spotlight, Dylan Gabriel, Dante Moore, Evan Stewart, one of the transfers that kind of flying under the radar, but I would argue is one of the most important gets for the Oregon Ducks was safety Kobe Savage coming over from Kansas State. And I have been extremely vocal. The Oregon fans know this. This Oregon Ducks team heading into 2024, not only Big Ten contenders immediately in that conference, this is a team that, make no mistake about it, can win a national championship. You go top to bottom of this Oregon depth chart and roster, it is absolutely loaded, and they're checking a lot of boxes. But one of those questions that we had was, what does that safety position look like heading into 2024? And I think Kobe Savage goes a long way in kind of mitigating some of those concerns that we have in that safety room. A guy that has a very eerily snap count and snap distribution to a guy in Evan Williams last year for Oregon. You take a look at Kobe Savage's snap distribution, 285 snaps as a box defender, as a box safety, 164 as a slot nickel roll, and then 250 as a free safety. You look at Evan Williams' snaps, those are almost identical. And I kind of see Kobe Savage coming into this Oregon Ducks defense and kind of playing a very similar role that Evan Williams played for the Oregon Ducks, a guy that wants to get involved in the run game, want to take a dive into Kobe Savage. Take a look at the film back from Kansas State last year. Talk about what he brings to this Oregon Ducks defense. Extremely excited to get into it. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and a massive shout out to the Oregon Duck fans, whether we're talking this program on the recruiting trail, spring practice notes, the transfer portal, the amount of support y'all show, it truly does mean a lot. Cannot thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And want to talk about what, before we get into the film, want to talk about what we're going to see on the film from Kobe Savage. And I think the number one thing that stands out, a very similar compliment we continued to give Evan Williams last year, was the versatility. I mean, the amount of different responsibilities and roles that Evan Williams played for that Oregon defense last year, you kind of think Kobe Savage is going to come in and kind of take over a lot of those responsibilities. This is a guy that can play the box safety role, be physical in the line of scrimmage, be a factor in the run game, but also be a guy that can excel as a deep safety in zone coverage, but also can play man coverage as well. When you have guys that can check all of those boxes from a versatility standpoint, it's a massive asset to this Oregon defense. And versatility in the Big Ten is going to be massive. You look at the different types of offenses that you'll see on a week in, week out basis. You might see Michigan or Iowa one week, and then you go on the road and go play USC or Washington the next week. Michigan, Iowa, obviously very run heavy. Two tight ends going to be kind of smash mouth football. Then you go on the road next week and go, all right, we're playing some spread offense against Washington or USC. A guy like Kobe Savage, when you're playing Michigan or Iowa, can be that box safety that is a factor in the run game. But when you go play USC or Washington, can be a safety in the back end that you trust, playing in space, being in coverage. That versatility, not only for Oregon in terms of the different personnel packages and blitzes and coverages that they want to do, but also from a week in, week out standpoint, is going to be absolutely massive. And you get into Kobe Savage, what he brings to the table, it starts in what he can do in the run game. And this is something that we talk about a lot in terms of defenses at the college football level. Offenses want to spread you out. They want to get you in space. And or a lot of defenses across the country are trying to match that. You want coverage ability on the field, but what makes defenses really special is when they have guys like Kobe Savage that give you that coverage ability, be able to match up in space and in coverage with a lot of these offenses, but also provide you a lot of value in the run game as well. And you kind of dive into the film of Kobe Savage, and he is a factor in the run game from all different spots of the field. He's a very, very good box safety. He's walked into the box, playing in the run game. You roll this play right here against Missouri. This is a guy in Kobe Savage that wants to get downhill, kind of playing that box safety, almost an off-ball linebacker look immediately into the backfield, meeting Brady Cook 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage, making a massive tackle for loss on first down. This is a guy that is going to create a lot of negative plays for this Oregon Ducks defense. But you take a look at kind of different opportunities that Kobe Savage has. You go again to this Missouri game where he's playing that deep safety role where he has to fire downhill, attack the line of scrimmage. You roll the clip here. Kobe Savage playing that deep safety role, tracking down the wide receiver on the reverse, making a play. A lot of different ways that Kobe Savage can get involved in the run game. And that's probably one of my favorite aspects of what Kobe Savage brings to the table. Then you look at what he can do in coverage. This is a guy that can hold up in man coverage. You take a look at the numbers when targeted in man coverage, only gave up a 60% completion percentage. And for a safety, those are some really good numbers, especially with some of the matchups that Kansas State asked him to have during that 2023 season. You go to the film, kind of get a feel for what he does in man coverage. You roll this film right here, 3rd and 7. Kobe Savage tracking this wide receiver across the field, and he's going to end up giving the catch up here in a first down conversion. But if you force quarterbacks and wide receivers and offenses to make these kind of high-level throws where you have to be on time, you got to be accurate, and you're throwing to a very, very kind of small window, those are the type of – that's winning football on the defensive side of the football. You see Kobe Savage able to mirror that defender, make that throwing window very, very short, and make the play. Kobe Savage can hold up in man coverage, and then you take a look at what he can do as a deep safety, playing that zone coverage, keeping his eyes on the quarterback. And I think the one thing that stands out is this is a guy that's seen a lot, right? He is a very, very heady safety, a guy that has seen a lot of football, has a lot of football IQ, playing that role right here, kind of that deep safety role where you're responsible for that whole half portion of the field. I mean, a rangy cornerback that's making that throwing window small, squeezing that wide receiver to the boundary, all things that you really want to see in a safety, especially in this Oregon offense. And you get into why Kobe Savage is so massive for this Oregon Ducks defense. Again, been very vocal. This is an Oregon defense that has a ton of talent, especially in the cornerback room. But if there is one question that you have is, what is that safety room going to look like, and all the depth that Oregon has in that cornerback room? It lets them get kind of creative in terms of the defensive backs that they are going to have on the football field, right? Brandon Johnson, Nico Reed, probably the two guys that are going to be battling for that nickel role. Jabbar Muhammad, Cam Alexander, Jaleel Florence, Dante Manning, Roderick Pleasant. I mean, 6 guys that would start on most teams across the country, going to be battling for those boundary cornerback roles. And then you have the ability to move Tashim Johnson into that safety spot with Kobe Savage, 2 guys that have exceptional versatility. Tashim Johnson playing a lot of nickel for Oregon last year. You got 2 safeties in the back end for this Oregon Ducks defense that provide a ton of versatility and a ton of different things that you can throw at them. And when it comes to disguising what you're doing, getting different personnel packages and kind of blitz and coverage packages, having Tashim Johnson and Kobe Savage, both guys that have extensive experience playing in the box, playing that nickel role, playing that deep safety role, it's going to get Oregon, or it's going to allow Oregon to be very creative in terms of how they use them. And I can see safeties coming a lot in this Oregon defense, because when you got guys like Cam Alexander, Jabbar Muhammad, Jaleel Florence, Dante Manning, guys that you really trust on the boundary, you can get creative with how you want to use your safeties. And 2 guys in Tashim Johnson and Kobe Savage who have shown the ability to excel in the box, blitzing, playing and run defense. I really like how this Oregon secondary is shaking out. And I think Kobe Savage is probably just going to represent a little bit of a chess piece for this Oregon Ducks defense. I'm extremely excited about this Oregon team. Very excited about the defense. Kobe Savage, a massive addition. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. We'll end it there. Again, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We got transfer portal window opening up. We got Oregon hosting a lot of prospects over the weekend that we'll talk about. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.